Cyber Threat Brief for July 6, 2026. Microsoft SharePoint zero-day under active attack after patches failed to fix the vulnerability. Android 17 drops PIN guess limits from 1,800 attempts to just 20, shipping stricter lock screen protections. AI agent skills can evade static scanners using self-extracting packing techniques, bypassing defenses over 90% of the time. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Daily Cybersecurity Brief. Date 2026-076. Next section, Critical Alerts. Microsoft patches failed to fix on-prem SharePoint. Now under zero-day attack, Microsoft's patches for on-premises SharePoint have failed to remediate a vulnerability that is now being actively exploited in the wild. The zero-day attack affects on-prem SharePoint installations, though specific CVE or common vulnerabilities and exposures, details and exploit vectors were not detailed in the available reporting. Organizations running on-premises SharePoint should assume they are at risk until Microsoft issues a confirmed fix. Action: monitor for unusual SharePoint activity. Check Microsoft security advisories for emergency updates. Consider isolating or restricting access to on-prem SharePoint instances until a verified patch is available. This is a confirmed zero-day with active exploitation. Source: the Register. Next section, ransomware claims last 48h. One claim tracked from Arcus Media in the last 48 hours. These are unverified claims from ransomware leak sites, not confirmed breaches. Group Victim Sector Country Arcus Media, East African Gas Oil Energy, /Fuel Distribution, Kenya/Tanzania, East Africa. Next section, Business and Infrastructure Threats. Device code phishing attack via Microsoft website attackers are exploiting Microsoft's OAuth 2. Zero device authorization grant to phish credentials directly through legitimate Microsoft domains. The attack instructs victims to visit Microsoft.com/devicelogin and enter a device code, which grants attackers access tokens to the victim's account. The technique bypasses traditional phishing detection since the URL is genuinely Microsoft-owned. The device authorization grant was designed for smart TVs and EOT devices, but threat actors discovered they can abuse it by displaying fake device codes to victims through social engineering. Once a user enters the code and approves access, attackers receive valid OAuth tokens for the victim's Microsoft account, including access to email, OneDrive, and Azure resources. Action: train users to recognize device code requests as potential phishing. Only enter device codes when you initiated the device pairing yourself. Monitor Azure Active Directory sign-in logs for unusual OAuth consent grants and device code flows. Consider conditional access policies that restrict device code authentication to known networks or require additional verification. Source: SecureList Kaspersky. Skill Cloak lets malicious AI agent skills evade static scanners. Researchers at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology demonstrated that malicious skills for AI coding agents can evade static scanners over 90% of the time using self-extracting packing techniques. Skills are small instruction packages that agents like Claude Code and OpenAI Codex load to gain new capabilities, and they run with full agent access to files, terminals, and credentials. The Skill Cloak tool rewrites malicious skills to appear clean using two methods: character swapping and command splitting to break pattern matches, and self-extracting packing that hides payloads and directories scanners skip, like git / with a harmless-looking decoder. Across 8 scanners and 1,613 real malicious skills, the packing trick bypassed each scanner more than 90% of the time. The researchers released a runtime checker called Skill Detonate that caught 97% of attacks by monitoring behavior rather than appearance, though it runs slower than static scanners. Action: if your organization uses AI coding agents that support skills or plugins, implement runtime monitoring rather than relying solely on static scanners. Review and approve skills from untrusted sources manually. Consider the researchers' Skill Detonate tool for behavior-based detection. Treat AI agent skill marketplaces as high-risk third-party code sources. Source: The Hacker News. Opera GX flaw let malicious sites auto-install mods to steal data. A flaw in Opera GX allowed malicious websites to silently install browser mods and use CSS injection to steal data from pages the victim visited, including reconstructing full Gmail addresses with no user interaction. The vulnerability leveraged Opera GX's auto-install behavior for GX mods, which are browser reskins shipped as CRX files. A malicious page could install a mod silently by loading a hidden iframe pointed at a CRX file with only a notification bar as indication. Mod CSS applied universally to every page, enabling a universal CSS injection that used attribute selectors to leak values character by character through background image requests. Opera patched the flaw in Opera GX version 130.0.5847.89 and found no evidence of wild exploitation. The bug bounty team rated it P1 top severity and paid the maximum $5,000 award. Action: update Opera GX to version 130.0.5847.89 or later immediately. Check Opera / about to confirm your version. If you use Opera GX for work or sensitive accounts, audit installed mods and remove any you did not explicitly install. This was a zero-click data theft vulnerability. Source: The Hacker News. Russians posing as Signal support to launch phishing attacks. Russian threat actors are impersonating Signal support staff to conduct phishing campaigns targeting Signal users. The attacks likely involve social engineering to trick users into providing credentials, recovery codes, or device access. Signal does not have traditional support staff that would contact users directly, making any unsolicited support contact a red flag. No further technical details on the attack vector or payload were provided in the available reporting. Action: educate users that Signal does not provide proactive support contact. Any messages claiming to be from Signal support are fraudulent. Legitimate Signal support only responds through official channels after a user initiates contact. Enable registration lock and PIM protection in Signal settings. Source: The Register. TrojPix attack leaks data from air-gapped systems via video cable emissions. Researchers at Shandong University demonstrated TrojPix, a covert channel that exfiltrates data from air-gapped computers by modulating on-screen pixels to make video cables radiate radio signals a nearby receiver can decode. The technique achieved 1 megabits per second throughput and a 208-meter range in testing, though not simultaneously. TrojPix requires malware already on the target system and user-level permissions to draw to the screen. It uses imperceptible pixel modulation to hide transmissions either by faking a powered-off display or burying signals in normal screen content. The researchers tested across 9 monitor brands and 15 video cables. This is lab research, not a wild attack. Countermeasures include fiber optic video links, cable and room shielding, and preventing malware installation. Action: for air-gapped systems with extremely sensitive data, consider fiber optic video connections, DisplayPort over fiber, HDMI over fiber, which do not emit radio signals. Implement physical security for high-value targets to prevent receiver placement within 200+ meters. The primary defense remains malware prevention, as TrojPix requires code execution first. Source: The Hacker News. MFA, multi-factor authentication. Optional banks leave accounts wide open for thieves. Financial institutions that make multi-factor authentication optional rather than mandatory are leaving customer accounts vulnerable to credential theft and account takeover. When MFA is optional, users who do not enable it rely solely on passwords, which are routinely compromised through phishing, data breaches, and credential stuffing attacks. Banking security should enforce MFA by default rather than treating it as an opt-in feature. The article did not specify which banks currently have optional MFA policies. Action: if your organization works with financial institutions or third-party banking integrations, verify that MFA is enforced for all access. For internal systems handling financial data, mandate MFA rather than making it optional. Review access logs for accounts without MFA and migrate them to enforced MFA policies. Source: The Register. Next section, General Security News. Android 17 drops PIN guessing limit from 1,800 attempts to 20. Android 17, released last month, reduced the maximum failed lock screen attempts from 1,800 to 20, with aggressive timeouts between attempts. The previous Android 16 allowed 10 wrong guesses in the first minute, scaling up to 1,800 attempts over 5 years. The new system allows just 5 failed attempts in the first minute, with the 20th PIN guess available only after 14 years of waiting, after which no more guesses are allowed. The system includes duplicate guess detection, so users are not penalized for entering the same incorrect PIN multiple times. The feature shipped broadly with Android 17 after being added to Android 16 QPR2 in December 2025. Phone makers will roll out the OS update over the coming months. Source: Risky Biz News. DEFCON Franklin Project enlists hackers to harden critical infrastructure. DEFCON is expanding its security research efforts to critical infrastructure through the Franklin Project, which will involve the entire DEFCON conference rather than just a single village. The initiative follows the success of the Voting Village, which has produced influential security reports. DEFCON founder Jeff Moss announced the expansion to apply the same research model to broader critical infrastructure systems beyond voting machines. Source: The Register. EQT buys majority share in Swiss cybersecurity firm Acronis. Private equity firm, EQT, acquired a majority stake in Swiss cybersecurity and data protection company Acronis at an equivalent valuation of over $3.5 billion for the entire firm. Though the exact portion sold was not specified, Acronis provides backup, disaster recovery, and cybersecurity solutions primarily targeting managed service providers and enterprises. Source: The Register. Adapt Health discloses breach to SEC. American medical equipment maker Adapt Health notified the SEC of a security breach in which an intruder accessed patient data and internal documents stored in a cloud-based platform. The attackers contacted the company on June 15, and no hacking or ransomware group has claimed responsibility yet. Based on the timeline and details, Adapt Health appears to be a victim in a hacking spree targeting the Oracle PeopleSoft platform. Source: Risky Biz News. Grand Line hacked by Ukrainian hacktivists. Ukrainian hacktivist group Cyber Anarchy Squad claims to have wiped 3,000 servers and workstations, 700 virtual machines, and all backups at Russian construction company Grand Line, allegedly stealing over 650 terabytes of documents. The breach occurred in May but was only disclosed recently. Grand Line is one of Russia's largest construction companies. Source: Risky Biz News. Alibaba bans employees from using Claude. Chinese tech company Alibaba banned employees from using Anthropic's Claude model for work-related tasks. The article content was truncated, and additional details on the reasoning were not provided in the available text. Source: Risky Biz News. Next section, Patch Priority. Microsoft SharePoint, on-prem installations under active zero-day attack. Watch for emergency patch. Opera GX, update to 130.0.5847.89 or later. Silent mod installation allowed data theft. Android, update to Android 17 for improved lock screen protections when available from your device manufacturer. Oracle PeopleSoft, review access logs if using PeopleSoft. Recent breach wave targeting the platform. Next section, Vulnerability Disclosures. New Java-based Quima RET malware, as a service built for cross-platform targeting. Level Blue identified Quima RET, a new Java-based remote access Trojan sold as malware as a service targeting Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. The RET costs $150 for 1 month to $1,200 for lifetime access, and features a modular architecture supporting encrypted plugins delivered from command and control infrastructure. The malware author advertises a builder generating multiple output formats including JAR, EXE, app, SH, BAT, and VBS. Quima RET offers 74 Windows modules and 46 macOS/Linux modules. The seller also offers Quima Builder, modular builder supporting XLL, LNK, VBS, DOCM, MSC, CPL, CHM formats, Quima Loader, browser cache payload delivery, and Quima Dropper, HTML/SVG payload generator. The malware is organized as a modular Java project built with Apache Maven and includes embedded Java native access native libraries for multi-platform deployment. The author advertises complete stealth on Windows and Linux with no visible UI elements. Action: monitor for Java-based malware execution, particularly JAR files with embedded native libraries. Review logs for unusual Maven-related artifacts or JNA library loading. The MAS model means this RET will be accessible to a wide range of threat actors. Endpoint detection should flag multi-platform Java RETs using native interop. Source: The Hacker News. Next section, Trends and Context. 3 stories highlight how defenders are losing ground to attackers when traditional defenses are bypassed through legitimate channels. Microsoft's device code, phishing abuses, OAuth 2. 0 through real Microsoft URLs, AI agent skill scanners fail against basic obfuscation. And Opera GX's feature meant for customization became a silent data theft vector. Meanwhile, Android 17's dramatic reduction in PIN guess limits shows one platform tightening mobile security after years of generous attack windows. The zero-day SharePoint exploitation after failed patches underscores the risk of incomplete vulnerability remediation in on-premises enterprise systems. That concludes today's cyber threat brief. From Carolina Clear Tech. Stay patched, stay vigilant.